Good evening, good evening, good evening, and welcome to a new edition of Urban Sentinel Live. I'm your host, Reggie Kearney. I'm the publisher of Urban Sentinel magazine. I want to thank you all for being here with us tonight on this new show here. After a traumatizing week we had last week, and it's only been a week, and I think some of us are still traumatized, but we're going to keep on pushing, okay? We're going to keep on pushing. Adversity would not slow us down. So yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about what happened last week and what's going on this week because there's a lot going on. And so for the next hour, I got with me tonight Richard Cuff. He's been on the show before a number of times, so we're going to chop it up. I think Richard might be able to come on. I know he's traveling and he's in Tampa tonight, so hopefully he can go ahead and plug in and we can
Here.
get the show rolling. What's up, Richard? How you doing tonight, man?
I am doing well. Not quite as traumatized because I saw it coming. So I'm doing well though.
You saw the train coming, yeah.
I saw it.
Yeah, I think a lot of us were quite disappointed last week. Um, it's only been a week, over the last week, but a lot of us have been disappointed with the outcome, because and like gosh, I can't even think of the comedian name now. He comes on every night. Oh Lord. Well, he
Oh,
said basically take the poles and stuff and throw them in the trash can. He didn't use that exact language.
yeah.
He used some more language because poles, and I fell out with poles after the last election and with Hillary Clinton's election when she lost to this guy the first time. Because poles really don't tell the true story because when you call somebody, they can give you any information they want to give you. And that's just the bottom line. Now, when you deal with internal polls, your internal polls, you can get the better information yourself than you can by allowing a pollster to go out and get the information for you. So unfortunately, they knew something in the polls that the Democrats didn't know, and they were able to seize upon that, and this is the outcome we got. Now, he didn't get a runaway election victory. He only won probably about a little over 2%, so he didn't get no kind of mandate. It's just that the numbers did not fall like we needed them to fall in the swing states. So that's something we're gonna have to be looking at over the next 4 years and figure out how we can overcome this disastrous showing that we had for this election cycle. So we got a lot of work we got to do. So I know a lot of people are disappointed, but we just got to work harder the next time to get that candidate in, and whoever that candidate is going to be. But we got 4 years. We're just coming out of an election, so it's going to take a minute to identify someone who's going to run for office the next time, and also start to put together a team and addressing issues that seem to have slipped away from the Democratic Party. And one of those main issues that kind of slipped away from the Democratic Party is them paying attention to the working class person. Okay. And some people are saying that the Democrats have become a little elitist, in their dealings with people. They're not talking to the people, they're talking around the people. So what are your thoughts, Richard? You're on mute, Richard. Okay.
Yeah. I'm taking a totally different approach,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Okay.
The definition of insanity, as they say, is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. African Americans are constantly betting on this Democrat horse
Mm-hmm.
that's either it wins like Biden and turns out to do absolutely nothing as it crosses the finish line. The Democrats won promising student loan forgiveness. Yep, we knew it was going to cost $1.9 billion. Yep,
Mm-hmm.
it was a big push or move. But the first thing they ran up against was the Republicans that say, well, we ain't gonna want that to happen, and they shut it down And maybe they forgave some loans here and there, but that big promise didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
But then Trump comes into office promising, and by the way, the student loans cost $1.9 trillion. This tax cut that Trump is promising is 9 trillion on top of the 2 trillion that he gave in 27 in what 2017. So now he's about to do another 9 trillion. Now watch that 9 trillion get passed faster than the 1.9 trillion by the same people who acted as if 1.9 trillion was too much, because they're going to say the same thing. This money is going to stimulate the economy. And there has been proof time and time again that tax cuts of that nature do not stimulate the economy. Investing in infrastructure does, but we're not investing in infrastructure, but we're allowing them to come in with the same thing that we're giving this money to the wealthy because they're going to create jobs, and they're not. They're going to buy robots, and they're going to buy their stock. That's what's going to happen.
Okay, Richard, that was pretty good. That was pretty good. That was pretty good. But um, we still, I mean, I think collectively that we still have we have to address the issues of the working people. Because at the end of the day, it's not going to be the guys who got the tax cut that allow a person to win. Okay, allow a person to win. You got to talk to the people that are really struggling out there and get that buy-in to your campaign. And I just think that we didn't do a good job. The AOC, who's a very progressive um, left wing congresswoman, in her district stood pretty tall for the new guy, and they also voted for her. So she was very anxious and concerned on why did people split the ticket. And the basic answer was that she's always a very outspoken person for the working people. And he was touching on the working people. So they saw something that matched up with their needs. And I think when you're running for office, you've got to take into consideration that you're working for the people, you're not for yourselves. And I think when you look at politics overall, when you look at from the local level on to the national level, the majority of the guys and ladies who are running for office are running for themselves. Okay, they're not running for the people. So, what are your thoughts on that, Richard?
My belief is probably, and forgive me, I don't want to make I told you, I welcome the opportunity to get on the call. Unfortunately, it
Mm-hmm.
was in the middle of me traveling, so
Mm-hmm. That's
I
okay.
am. Yeah, I stopped at a wonderful Panera Bread here in
Oh.
Tampa, and then my salad hit the table at the same time that the show started. So, but
Mm-hmm.
we're gonna enjoy this thing. So I'm not eating in you guys' face. My camera's gonna pop off. But here is here's what I said is, I say, I would like to see a bigger movement, because we're not learning from history, right?
Right.
We're not learning from 170 years of history. If we were to go back 170 years ago to 1854 was the start of the Republican Party. The
Mm-hmm.
reason, if you go back 30 years before that, maybe 34 years, you're back in 1820, I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
That was the beginning of the split of what was the Democratic Republican Party. Now, believe it, yes, the Democratic Republican Party ran the presidency from 1801 to 1821. They were that when you talk about Democrat and Republican, they are two wings of the same bird. They're not a separate party. The point is, we don't talk about it from a historical standpoint. We always talk about what happens now. We like, how do you we're trying to clean up the flood in the basement, right? There's a flood in the basement, but nobody's addressing the fact that there's a hole in the roof. That's where the water's coming from. The water is coming from the hole in the roof. Yes, there's a flood in the basement, and we got to deal with the fact that the basement is constantly flooding. But why is the basement constantly flooding? It's flooding because we're not addressing the issues that got us here. And what got us here is 1619. This nation came. There were 20 enslaved Africans brought here in 2019.
You mean
Imagine what this
1619?
nation. I mean 1619. Thank you. Imagine what would have happened if in 1619, the moment 20 enslaved Africans got off the ship because they stole them basically, and brought them here. The slave trade never came this way, but the American slave trade was unique after those 20 enslaved Africans landed in Jamestown in 1619. Imagine if the moment they stepped foot in this wonderful country, the chains had come off and they said, "How dare you bring these people over here in chains? This is a nation that's great." What would be the conversation we would be having right now as Black people in this country? It
Mm-hmm.
would be a totally different conversation. But white America missed the opportunity, and that was strike one. That was sin number one, the beginning of American versions of slavery.
Mm-hmm.
Fast forward, and we get to the Revolutionary War of 1776, and by 1778 they were having the Constitutional Congress where they were mapping out the Constitution, but they had to bring the nations together, and the slaveholding states had to come together with the free states, and they compromised. Number one, counting three-fifths blacks, but they also compromised on the slave trade. It's called, and we don't, they never taught us the slave trade compromise, but that's what it was called. It gave the slave states 20 years to unravel slavery before the United States would say, we're going to end it. Now, they could have ended it in 1778, but they said 10 years from now, we're going to give you 20 years. So in 1808, slavery ended in the United States. But what did the Southern states do in that 20-year period? They started breeding them, and they figured out you could make more money breeding slaves than you can make bringing them over here. Strike two, white supremacy now, because you're now making yourself supreme over those people. And then fast forward, the Republican and the Democratic Party finally split over slavery. The Republicans, abolitionists, and the Southern Democrats, slaveholders. And they went to war not over slavery. They went to war over what to do with all that land that during the Louisiana Purchase. That's why one of the main things that Abraham Lincoln did during the Civil War was pass the Homestead Act, which gave away all that land, but they didn't give it to black folks. They only gave it to white Americans, and that was strike three. We started institutionalized racism, and then they ended the Jim Crow era in 1877. Plessy v. Ferguson started. They ended Reconstruction, and then Plessy v. Ferguson started the Jim Crow era, and now we have a totally so we got slavery, we got white supremacy, and we have institutionalized racism. Those three things. Until we deal with those three things, that's where the water's coming from. That's in the basement. So we keep talking about how black folk are being treated, or what the Democratic Party is doing, until America goes back, and until we as black Americans make that the conversation. Not forget about whether or not Trump is going to bring the price of eggs down to $3.29. I don't give a crap about that. What I want to know is, what are you going to do about slavery, institutionalized racism, and white supremacy that have been plaguing us African Americans for 170 years? Nobody's talking about that. Nobody. But let me share with you why it hurts us that nobody's talking about it. From 1865 to 1877, in fact, the last one in 1901, we had 2 senators and 14 congressmen. Now, how did black folk go from being enslaved and then after the Civil War get 14 congressmen and 2 senators? Because we were suddenly voting. But when we started voting, we were a voting bloc that was in the middle between the Republicans and the Democrats. So we took all of our weight and we shifted it over to the Republicans, and they got behind us and gave us the 13th, 14th, 15th Amendment. And then in 1876, these white folk figured it out that if we keep doing this, we're going to let them get stronger and stronger. And after a while, they're going to be stronger than us. So in 1877, on a handshake, Rutherford B. Hayes was given the presidency in exchange for putting an end to Reconstruction. And from that moment on, all the black folk started leaving Congress until one man was left. His name was Charles Harris White. And if you guys were to Google Charles Harris White and Phoenix like, and just do that, Charles Harris White, and type the words Phoenix like, he literally prophesied. He said, I am the last one. You white guys have run us out of here, and you've brutalized us. You've destroyed us. But Phoenix like, we will rise again. And I guarantee you, this whole thing about the South will rise again, that's not what they're afraid. That's not what they want. What they want to stop is us rising up and recognizing that we should have been the Freedmen's Party. So I'm not going to get on the, and I'm sorry to be in disagreement with anybody else about what we should do as Democrats. I'm no party affiliated. I've been no party affiliated since I came home from the Army in 1981, and I'll vote for Republican or Democrat who speaks to my interests. Personal disclosure is I voted for Kamala Harris. I would never vote for Donald Trump. There's no way that I wouldn't want, if my daughter came home with a young man that was destined to be Donald Trump, I'd send him packing, because I wouldn't want that for my son-in-law. I wouldn't want that for my brother. I wouldn't want that as a business partner. Why would I want it as a president? But on my podcast page, the PS Factor podcast, I posted a video of a comment from Eddie S. Glaude Jr. And he talks about how when he was on MSNBC, the 11th hour, he addresses the fact that this nonsense that white folk voted because it was economics and all of that. It wasn't any of that. It was that their whiteness was under threat, and they're doing everything that they possibly can to preserve it. And guess what? They've been doing that for the last 170 years.
Hey, Richard, that was some deep dissertation and everything. I just had a quick question for you and Reggie and everything, because one of the things that I've been fascinated by is a number of folks are talking, even on this network, about the rise in African American males that decided to vote for Trump, having this notion that he gave them a check and everything, but also this notion that he was somehow better for the economy. And I'm of the theory, I don't know how you feel about it, Richard, that they also played to something that is a war tactic. You just said that you are a military veteran, so it's that whole divide and conquer notion, because one of the things that I think got some of our brothers to vote is that they were feeling that the others, whether that's the LGBT and others, were having advantages that they didn't have, and all along those lines. So they were playing to some of our moral views and all in that space. So I just wanted your take, because definitely it does
No,
look like they were trying to play to our moral center, and because definitely a lot, not saying every, but a lot of African Americans do have a moral center and are very church based and kind of follow the doctrine of the gospel and everything like that. And I think they were trying to play to that, the Trump folks, and they probably pulled about 20% of our brothers from doing that and everything. But I was just wondering, is that part of what got this 1 out of 5? Because that's a pretty significant amount.
no, I can tell you, black men voted for Donald Trump for the exact same reason that white women voted for Donald Trump. They were afraid of what would happen if he didn't win. Black men are traumatized and don't even realize how many of these black men that were voting for Donald Trump were talking about police brutality, or the fact that they could get shot like Philando Castile or Trayvon Martin. How many times has that come up under Trump? Those men know that Trump makes them feel safe. They're safe under Trump. The exact same reason that white women vote for Trump. They are safe. You know who did not vote for Trump overwhelmingly? Black women.
Right.
Why? Because black women ain't for that crap. Black women are not looking to black men for protection, and they're certainly not looking to a white man for protection. So they didn't fall for that crap. And the numbers show it. Black men are tired of being traumatized, but I get it. I get it. You don't you want a piece of that American pie.
Right.
They think they but that pie is full of crap. And everybody has warned that under Donald Trump's policies, if he does what he says he's going to do, this economy is going to fall apart. And only wealthy people make money on, it's called shorting the market. Only wealthy people have enough money to short the market, meaning they make money as it goes down, which means they're going to be even richer when everybody else is poor. And unfortunately, you're going to have to see it to believe it. And when it happens, the Bible says there's going to be weeping and gnashing of teeth. And that's what we're headed towards. So there's no explanation for it. There's this thing about a stimulus check. If you voted for Trump because he gave you a stimulus check, then you ignored the 5 bullets or so that was pumped in Philando Castile's body. You've ignored 170 years of oppression to look at what this one man makes you feel safe enough to overlook that past that they're trying to sweep under the rug, call it woke, and tell you that we can't even talk about it in school. And then you want to vote for the very man who made that happen. I got nothing else to say on that.
I know that's right.
Because they're moving towards that with our educational system. They don't want anything talked about that puts a negative light on the white community. And so you're not going to hear this, but we need to know our own history. We need to know our own problems. How can we trust a guy to protect us when he said he wants to give the police full immunity? Okay? That's giving police officers, if they are given full immunity, the right to go out there and shoot you. And know nothing will happen to them, even if they were in the wrong. Nothing will happen to them. I don't know what got into these young black guys. I mean, I just really don't know. It just shows that they don't know their history, or they soon forgot about George Floyd.
They forgot about George Floyd and everything. But this is for both you and Richard. Hopefully, Richard, I know he's enjoying that meal over there at Panera Bread. A great place to eat. I need to get over there myself at some point and everything. But one of the questions I was going to ask is even the notion, because we had Reverend Barber, as y'all can tell him, at the apartment today, but I had Reverend Barber over at Haytime, where actually they did. It was the library in the Keenan Institute from UNC, and he was speaking kind of to what you were speaking to, and I'd love to hear y'all's thoughts around this, because he was having this notion that kind of what you said, Reggie, that we did not address, meaning the Democrats, the poor community, and that's both white and black poor community, and we didn't really address a lot of the community, because he was of the impression that we don't need to give up 172 electorate automatically by not going into those areas. So he's saying going to Alabama, going to Mississippi, going to those places that are declared red, but he was even saying, even what you were talking about with the swing state, he said in North Carolina, we hit Winston, we hit Charlotte, we hit Greensboro, we hit Durham, we hit a lot of the cosmopolitan areas or the city areas, but we did not hit a lot of the rural areas, and a lot of them went toward the Trump vote and everything. So should we have done a better job in terms of going after other parts of our population and our allies as well?
Well, the problem is we don't vote. We don't participate in the process. I mean, we were looking at North Carolina, and I forgot what the county was. There was a county in North Carolina, I think it's Aaron County, I believe it is. I might have it wrong. Correct me, audience, if I am. But they had a 40% of the population was African American black. Okay, but the guy managed to carry that county. That shows you they didn't all go out and vote.
Right.
Okay, if you got 40% of the population, and let's say 30% of the population is voting age, you still, with the other side, with the white community that you pick up, the Democrats in that county, he still shouldn't have won that county. Now, down in Martin County, North Carolina, and I'm very familiar with that because that's where my mother grew up at, and we still got a farm down there. The black vote decreased from 20 from the last election up until now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the black vote decreased, so that shows we're not going out and voting. I think a lot of blacks are throwing their hands up in the air and saying, "Well, my vote doesn't mean anything. Your vote does mean something. It might not mean anything individually, but collectively, that vote means something."
Right.
You know, even with the door knocking that was done in Philadelphia, Philadelphia's numbers were down.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I don't know what Kool-Aid these guys, our brothers and sisters are drinking, but they're drinking some Kool-Aid that's causing a lot of problems. Okay, and they don't realize it. They do not realize it. They don't see what's happening. You know, the guy is going around saying, "Well, he wants a country, everyone to be equal, one person." How the heck can we be part of that after everything we've been through as black folks?
Well, one of the things, and I actually heard a commentator, not on the show, but off of the show, mention this idea. But I don't understand even our brown brothers who kind of voted against their interest as well, because a number of them may have family members or they themselves may be threatened with deportation and everything. And I'm hearing some people that are even throwing out the idea of kind of like the bounty system being out there, depending on if they can get enough agents and everything. So I'm just wondering, is that something we need to fear, that some of our brown brothers might wind up seeing a bounty on their head and that they might go after them, and some of that profiling as well? So I'm just wondering, is that something we need to fear, that there might be bounties placed on some folks' heads that are deemed illegal?
Well, they're going to go after the illegal population. I don't think in 4 years, can they do 1 million people? I don't think so. Okay. You know, I just don't think so. Because first of all, they got to identify the people. So how they going to identify? They're going to have a door knocking campaign now?
That's what I'm saying.
Or they're going to wait every time they see the police officer see a brown skinned person walking down the street, they're going to stop and say, "Are you legal? Let me see your papers." You know, junk like that. You know, that's what they're going to do. But like we were saying before the show, the guy who's the border czar was the guy who was doing it for Obama.
Mm-hmm.
Obama had the largest deportation rate of any president. Okay, so the guy, unfortunately, he knows what he's doing. Okay, but is it good for this country? It's not good for this country, because, like, I'm gonna tell you something. Let them go ahead, go right ahead, deport 1 million Latinos, Mexicans, and stuff. Send them. Deport them, get rid of them, and watch a mass deportation cause a mass economic failure. Okay, because who's going to work on these farms? Mm-hmm. Who's going to work on these egg factories? Who's going to work in these chicken plants? Okay, who's going to work in the tobacco fields of North Carolina, the cotton fields? With the cotton, they basically do it with machines there. But who's going to dig up sweet potatoes, watermelons, just to name a few? Who's going to work the restaurant jobs, lawn and garden care? Okay, go right ahead.
Yeah, that's going to be a major economic blow, I'm guessing. And if he gets back on camera, maybe he can tell us if I'm right. But I'm guessing that if he's in Louisville, that Panera Bread that Rich is at probably has got a large amount of Latin brothers and sisters that are back there in the kitchen that he's probably already seen. So,
you know, so they out there. You know, I mean, but this is the problem I have. I'm gonna be upfront, okay? They ain't my brothers and sisters, okay? But they stabbed us in the back, okay?
Mm.
All right. This one guy got on TV. Yeah, I voted for Trump. Oh, he was proud he voted for Trump. But then in the next sentence, he said his neighbor across the street voted for Trump because they had a Trump sign up. So he sent his kids over there to play with their kids because their kids were outside playing. Lady came outside and told his kids they need to get water on out his yard, that we don't associate with people like y'all.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so let them go and keep on messing around with the guy and see where it gets them, okay?
Yeah, it's gonna get them in some deep trouble and everything. Hey, Richard, just along those same lines and everything. One of the things people talking about because we just had the election, but in 2 weeks we're gonna have a major holiday. It's a holiday that some people associate with Native American history and all along those lines. That being Thanksgiving, even though that's a whole other story and everything. But there are now people that are saying that they are trying to figure out how they're going to deal with that family dynamics because there are a number of people that are saying I can't be around my family if they are Trump supporters. So I think we're having a great divorce and everything along those lines. So Richard, what's your take on this? For the folks that've got those Trump supporters in their family, will they be at your Thanksgiving dinner, or are you going to avoid them at all costs if you found out that they were supporting that person is in getting ready to head into the White House?
Let me tell you what. Have you ever like got a bag of popcorn and watched a really good movie?
Uh-huh.
Right. That's how I'm like this. I'm sitting there while I'm just gonna watch the movie. I'm like, oh my god, because that's what it's like. Oh, this movie getting good. Because what's happening is I'm seeing all kinds of stories, like especially coming up to Christmas, that these employees at these factories are not getting Christmas bonuses because they're being told that the reason they're not getting Christmas bonus is because the tariffs have caused their products to go higher. Like they have to pay more for material to make these things. So because we have to pay more for the material, we don't have the money to give up these bonuses. And these people are going, wait, what? Wait, what? You mean a tariff against China doesn't hurt China? No, it doesn't. But how many times can you explain what a tariff is to these people and still have them vote against their interests? So the prices are going to go up, and you're going to start seeing people be deported because it's from the Hispanic standpoint. But these Hispanics thinking like, well, they're just going to deport the illegals, and that's going to move us up the social ladder somehow because we are legal. No, I can't remember who it was, but they asked the guy. They said, if you deport one member of a family and it threatens to break up the whole family, how do you solve that? He says, well, the whole family can leave. That there's nothing that stops we're taking the mother because she's illegal, been here for 25, 30 years, 40 years, she's illegal. We're going to send her back. Y'all love her so much, you go with her. Oh, it's going to get real ugly.
Yeah.
But let me tell you why there won't be police officers rounding people up. Because the quiet part that they're not going to say out loud is white America is not going to let you take police officers from their side of town to go round up illegals on another side of town. That's why the Second Amendment right now says a free state being the right to bear arms being necessary for a free state. The right, however that first line goes, but it says a free state being necessary. The right to bear arms shall not be a well-regulated militia. That's what it is. A well-regulated militia being necessary for a free state. When that was written originally, it read a well-regulated militia being necessary for a free country. But
Yeah.
Patrick Henry, who said, give me liberty or give me death, he said, there's no way I'm going to put my vote in for us to become a nation if we've got to give up the right to protect the states. Because if we sent our militia up from the state to fight for the country, who's going to defend our white people against these slaves when they escape?
No,
So they
you got the
changed
point
it.
there, the amendment, because I actually got the Constitution with me. I was going to ask you how important it's going to be, but it says a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear
You
arms
lost
and
me.
not be infringed and everything. But this is the one that I had forgot about because there were two other amendments that may play a factor as well. Because I forgot about the Amendment 3, which is no soldier shall time of peace be quartered in any house without the consent of the owner, nor in time of war, but in a manner to be prescribed by law. So the soldier can't just come rolling up on your house. And then the search and arrest warrant, which I know has come up, which is Amendment 4, says the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue but upon probable cause supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the person or things to be seized. So they definitely got all of that out there and everything like that.
Okay, so they got that out there. It's not going to work. The Constitution, they say he can go as far as using the Insurrection Act. Okay, he can use the Enemies Act. He can use whatever act that's geared towards war to do what he wants to do, and that's what he's going to do. But like you said, the first people they're going to do, they're going to get all these guys out of jail and send them back to the country. But this is something that I think a lot of people fail to recognize. He can only take those people back to the countries, land at their airports, if they give him permission to. Okay, so you got 2 or 3 plane loads of illegal immigrants that you want to take back to their country. What if the president of that country tell you better not land on our soil? We don't want them back. So what do you do then? Send them all to Guantanamo Bay?
Guantanamo Bay.
So what you going to do then? Okay? Now, the thing has not been given any thought. All they want to do is just get people out of the country. They want to make a statement. Now, I think the guy has got it all mixed up. Now, I'd like to see him go against the woman president down in Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
She gonna run circles around him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's not gonna play.
No.
But I'm with you on what you said earlier. I'm still trying to figure out some of the, maybe Richard's got some ideas, some of the qualifications of some of these people. Because like we were saying earlier, Lee, I think it's Zeldin, is going to be charged of the EPA. He has no environmental background. We got Mike Huckabee, who apparently has some interesting views around the end times and everything. That's going to be the ambassador to Israel. And you've got Christy Gnomes that's going to be Headland Security, and you got that one that we were talking about earlier that's going to be running the, I think it's the education department or something like that. So we got all these folks, and I'm still trying to figure out exactly what their qualifications were, other than they were Trump loyalists.
Well, I mean, when you look at the overall picture, if you go back and look at all the cabinets, of the past presidents, they always have 1 or 2 people in there that don't have any experience. They're not like this guy now that got everybody with no experience, but they always have people that don't have experience. I mean, I think these guys can probably get by, but the one I just can't get with is the Secretary of Defense, who's a daggone Fox
anchor and everything.
Hostess, yeah. I mean, come on now. You might as well go down the street corner and got a wine on and clean them up and stuck them in a position.
Well, we tried to do something to that with one of the amendments that didn't pass. I was actually laughing at you when looking at this quote, because it said in 1938 they tried to pass an amendment that would have the forbidding of drunkenness in the United States and all of its territory. So that was one of those, along with the equal rights one, because we also tried one in 71 that said American citizens should have the eligible rights to an environment free of pollution. So they tried to pass a pollution-free amendment as well. So I don't know how that would work, because you'd have to get the corporations to not pollute. They've been polluting for years and everything.
And and the main point on why the main point that the Democrats were hammering on has seemed like it has dissipated and disappeared into thin air. And that was the rights of women.
Right.
All of a sudden, with this guy getting reelected, it's all disappeared.
Well, you love. Well, there's a couple of amendments that didn't pass that I'm glad they didn't pass, and you'll love these two, Reggie and Richard, you want to jump on. But back in 1912, talk about this history, they tried to make marriage between races illegal, and they tried to have that as an amendment. And in 1914, because if I remember correctly, I know I've never been married, but I think you are you still with your wife or not? That's what I couldn't remember if you are still married or are you a divorcee, and if Richard's a divorcee. That's what I couldn't remember. But they tried to literally find divorce to be illegal. So they're going to make, in 1914, almost 100 years ago, divorce would have been an illegal act as far as the Constitution was concerned. But they didn't pass that one, thank goodness.
Yeah, they try to pass a lot of stuff, and they're going to keep on. But like I said, women's rights has disappeared into thin air. You had a few states that were able to pass the abortion bill in the form that they wanted to make it, constitutional. But for the most part, women's rights are gone, been blown out the water.
Yeah, I think women for the most, it was women who put Trump over. Each time the female vote, but again, it goes back to who makes them feel safe. And safe from what, right?
Yeah.
What are they safe from? And so we keep dancing around the issue of who we are as African Americans. I feel, we're in a perfect position. There's literally a perfect storm that's set up from the lining up of the stars in the cosmos and all the way down to where history is lining up. Like, for instance, our wealth right now collectively is like $2.6 trillion. And over the next 20 years, they're calling it the Great Wealth Transfer. That means the baby boomers are beginning to die off. Put it in perspective, every day, 2,000 baby boomers will die. And this will be for the next 20 years. 2,000 baby boomers will die every day. And of those baby boomers, approximately 1,200 of them, 1,300 of them are homeowners. And if you were to count up the value of those homes, that's millions of dollars, trillions of dollars in just home that's being transferred. Who's buying up those homes right now? Private investors are snatching up those homes because Black folk would rather pay $2,400 a month in rent than pay $1,200 in a mortgage because they don't understand the value. I'll give you an example. I saw a news story in Atlanta about 3 companies that own together 19,000 houses. 19,000 houses between 3 companies. And they interviewed a Black man to basically get his opinion about, why would he rather pay $2,200, $2,400 a month rent than own a house? He said, because if the roof is leaking, I don't have to worry about it. I just call them and they come out and fix it. And I'm like, do you not understand a home equity loan would allow you to borrow money against your house, fix the roof, and add that much value to your house with a new roof? You own the equity, you own it. And that's what makes home ownership valuable, not convenience. But because we are constantly thinking like consumers, they are thinking like investors. I don't think this way, but I'm just going to say the collective editorial we Black people think as consumers. They are thinking like investors. So when we look at them like saviors, and they look at us like commodity. And they're using us as the commodity that they trade. They're literally trading futures, trading us for future. They're buying us right now in our buying up our houses that we turn around and rent, and making certain that we pay them for the next 20 years that we're renting those houses. So those are the kinds of issues that we need to focus on. That I've got it. I get it, guys, that the politics are the thing. But if we could put together a conversation where we talk about home ownership, equity in those houses, pooling our resources together, buying up some of these companies that these guys are dying off and can't take with them, and their children don't want to run those businesses. This is an opportunity for prosperity for Black folk like no other. It doesn't matter who's the president of the United States. The one thing that does happen is business deals get done every day, and that's what we need to focus on. I mean, I'm not saying the other stuff, ignore the other stuff, but I'm just saying that we've got to focus on the fact that, as James Baldwin said, I'm not your grandpa's Negro.
Yeah,
Okay.
I know that's right. Yeah, I remember
So
that book.
yeah, you can the one thing that you are not going to do is roll up into my side of town and burn it down with your hood on, riding around with your horse. You come right up in on this side of town with a horse and a hood. We're gonna be a horse barbecue on the weekend, and the white sheets with little holes in it gonna be on the picnic table. Going like, wait a minute, what's that from? Yeah, come on over here. Like I said, come on, Cletus. Um, we our future is very, very bright. And
Along
I
those
say,
same lines,
what's that?
hey Richard, along those same lines, because my mom actually had a home in Durham, actually not that far from my dad's house and everything, but we sold it because of some maintenance and she needed to make an investment. And the people that bought it turned it into a duplex. So they definitely, it was worth a decent amount of money when mom bought it and they turned it into a duplex, and it's still, I think, staying in our society. I can't remember if it was a black or white family that bought it. So if I or something, it's probably a black family, but I'm not 100% sure of that. But a lot of our kids are looking. I'd love to hear your thoughts, Reggie, as well as yours, Reggie. They're looking into crypto as what they're going to go into to make their riches and everything. And I don't know if you think that this is a legitimate idea or a not legitimate idea, but I'm hearing a lot of brothers, particularly young brothers, that are getting great. So I just want to hear you on.
Well, I think for one thing, when you're dealing with Bitcoin and crypto, you need to know what you're doing. You need to understand it, okay? Just because it closed at, I think Monday it closed at $87,000.
Yeah.
That's paper. That's all that is. So you got to understand the movement of crypto and the movement of Bitcoin. I don't understand it that much to be dropping my money into it. Now, would it be a way of the future? I think it is going to be a way of the future. So if you become a student of Bitcoin and crypto, I think you're going to do pretty good. But I think that's the thing you're going to have to do is become a student of it and understand it, and not just take your money and go buy what you think is going to make you rich. Okay, you know, a lot of work goes into the study of crypto and Bitcoin. I have a friend, you know, he does the stock market, he does day trading, he does Bitcoin and crypto, and he's doing great with it. But he's a student of it. I mean, that's what he consumes them during the day, is studying the market and studying the trends.
No,
What?
you said the most important thing. You said you don't invest in it because you don't understand it. That
Mhm,
is the number one key. Never get into an investment that you don't understand.
mhm.
And be, and it if chances are, if you don't understand it, there's too much risk, and you won't see your money. And but I haven't followed the news much regarding it, but it's my understanding that this rush into crypto is causing the price of gold to drop. And what is happening is when with that kind of a shift, this is in the sense that they say fool's gold. Everybody's moving. If there's a movement in the marketplace, yes, you're going to see price of things going up. But those that were already there are the ones that are benefiting by those who think they're going to benefit by coming in. And at some point, there's going to be somebody that's the last person in. And when that happens, and there's no more money being put in, no more speculation about what the price is going to be in the future, the price is going to come down. And when it starts to come down, there are going to be a whole lot of people that's going to be crying because
Mhm.
they're going to watch their money disappear
and they're going to try and pull their money out. Hold on, let me grab this.
Mhm.
Oh,
Now, I know I've seen where people go to bed at night with crypto and Bitcoin and be on top of the world and wake up the next morning and it's gone. The value of it has just dropped. It's disappeared. So, Richard, I think we lost you there. I don't know if his phone came on. Mark, where you at, man?
He went sideways and everything, so hopefully he could come back. But that was
Yeah,
a
I think his phone. I think his phone run because he's using his phone. But did you hear what I said? People go to bed at night, Bitcoin and crypto on top of the world, get ready to go out here and buy this Maserati, and then the next morning they get up and stuff done drop down to a
Hey,
Pinto.
Reggie, did they do the same thing with the lottery? Because a lot of people make their money off of the lottery or off of the scratch offs in the different department stores and everything like that. And they might make a boatload of money and then they lose the money. It's kind of like the athletes that make all this money and then after they make the money, they're this and that, and because of this and because of that, decide they want some of the money and they're trying to be good friends. They give them the money or they give them the house, and they might have been some broke people at the end and everything. So we got a lot of folks that waste their riches that they get because they get the riches, but then they are crying because they are broke because they didn't do financial planning with the money they had.
Yeah, if you're going to get in crypto and Bitcoin, you got to study that. You got to put yourself up under a person that understands how to trade on it and how to make money on it. Don't go in there blind and say, okay, I got $10,000. I'm gonna go ahead and buy me. If you don't know how to move that stuff and make money off of it, see, the thing is, your boy done said he gonna deregulate it and gonna make it, he said he might even invest in it. Yeah, keep thinking he gonna follow you down there for that food gold, okay?
Well, they say he got his own crypto, but they also say that he's gonna make people do this thing with education, where they're gonna go like at Trump University. There's gonna be this new American university where he's gonna have these folks that are gonna be taking these courses under his leadership and everything. So I don't know if you think about this, but he's talking about like even getting rid of the accreditor and changing the school system, including the college system, because he said we got too much wokeness going on. So he said he's going to do some major reform, and he's even talking about bringing parent school back. I've heard some people talking about that and some book banning. So what's your new thoughts around some of the things he's planning for education? Because you're in that field.
Look, some of that stuff he wants to do is driven by the educational departments in the South, okay? The red states, okay? It ain't never gonna happen here in Maryland, in places like this. But this is what he's gonna do. He said, "Well, take a state like Maryland. If they don't want to come on board, then they don't get any federal funds. So he's gonna try to ram everything down your throat. That's why I said, like I tell people, we're gonna be 4 years in a mess, and then say if they do come back strong, the Democrats will come back in, or a new president will come back in. Then they got to clean up for 4 years, okay?" Because he's going to tear the walls down. I'll tell you, by summertime, we're going to be saying, "What the heck is going on in this world?" But that's where his thinking is.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be a mess. And the show is already starting with the craziness that he's putting out there. So it's just going to get worse. Yeah. But I know you'll be following it through the Urban Sentinel and everything. By the way, just really quickly, so you give your magazine a plug and then just the TV show. But what can we look for in the next edition of Urban Sentinel? And how can one get a subscription of the Urban Sentinel if they want the physical magazine? Because I know you've had some of your people that have been on the show, meaning you're on Fox TV, but they've also been in the magazine as well. So as we wrap up, and I know Rick had to leave, what can we expect in the next issue, and when is the next issue due?
Well, the next issue, I'm glad you asked about that. I'm working on it now. We're going to be talking to a group of filmmakers in Atlanta, Georgia, independent filmmakers. Now, this is going to be my Christmas, New Year edition, okay? And we're going to fix it up. But the young men we're talking to have gotten into horror films, okay? and other films. And Atlanta is becoming a hot market for independent movie directors. And so we're going to look at that for the holidays and, some other things. And February and March edition is going to be geared towards Black history. And we're going to do a lot of stuff on Black history for the month of for February and March. So I'm thinking ahead, two magazines ahead right now.
That makes sense. So if folks are watching it, maybe they're watching it in India or watching it in some other part of even North Carolina where I'm based, how can they get a copy of the magazine? Physical.
Well, if you go to issuu.com and put in the word Urban Sentinel magazine, the site will come up. Right now, it's free, to the readers, so you don't have to pay anything for it. So if you go,
you can tell your female filmmaker, so we get ready to wrap up. The Hayti Center, which is one place that I work. I got to do a history talk on tomorrow on Duke campus and everything. But they have their film festival in March. So you have to tell them
okay. So
that they can. I think the application's already passed, but if it's a work in progress, there's still a possibility of getting involved. It'll be in March of 2025, but also they can't make it this year, March of 2026. So we've been
but we still,
next year. We will celebrate our 50th anniversary of the film festival.
Yeah, we can still do an article on what you guys are doing down in Hayti. We can stick it. Like I said, I really want to focus on Black history for February and March because that edition I really want to dig in deep. I want to dig in deep. So, man, let's go, man.
All right.
We had a good time here tonight talking. So, but guys,
you and Richard and Insight, he gave us some great historical insight. We get some good insight too. But it's time for us to bounce. We'll be back next week because we got put up with this craziness for several years and everything. But we'll be on top of it right here on Urban Sentinel Live.
That's right. Okay. Good night, everyone. See you next Tuesday night.
See you next Tuesday.